Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Derek Stevens, a pastor, husband, author, gamer, YouTuber, and all-around lover of God. If you are too, then won't you click subscribe and become part of the PC tribe. I'm so excited today to tell you that I'm going to be releasing my third book, Poetry for Thought 3, Looking to Thee, Lord willing, at the end of this month. But before we get to that, I'm going to tell you and share a very, very deep part of my heart with you as we look at the very unbelievable and wild journey it took to get there. Sit back and relax as we take you through the history of Poetry for Thought. All this journey begins in a most unusual way. As we rewind the clock and go around the block, I'm 18 years old. I'm a senior in high school, and as part of my credits, I had to take an elective, and I chose Senior Composition, a class that would change my life. Now, this class was no different than any other high school class that you have. You sit, you listen, you read books, you wrote essays, all the things that fill a classroom seat. But as part of this class, we were asked to write a poem. I had never written a poem before in my entire life. And the teacher gave us a couple weeks to work on it, as we were going to have to read it in front of the class. And so I worked and tweaked, and at the end I thought it sounded okay. But unbeknownst to me, after reading it in front of the class, the teacher submitted it to a contest called Young Poets in the year 2000. And after he submitted that, he came up to me and told me that I had won. And I was blown away. I had discovered a talent that I never knew that I had. After this, I continued writing through the rest of my high school year, and then I continued on into college. And on the very first day of college, I met someone that would change my life, and that would be my future wife. The greatest gift that God has graced me, Brandy. And upon entering college and writing, my wife and future wife would start reading my works, and she thought they were very, very good. And she told me that I ought to submit them to a publisher. Now, 6 months into our college career, me and my wife Brandy were married. I know, young love, it'll never last. Believe me, we heard it all. You'll never last. But 20 years later, we're still standing. So we're writing, and my wife enjoys them and tells me to submit it to a publisher. But at this time, we are just married. We're living in a small little apartment. We have no money, but big dreams. And so we submitted to a publisher, not knowing anything about the world of publishing. And they wanted thousands of dollars to get your work published. Of course, that was a no-go. We couldn't get it done. And so we went on. couple years later, we decided to submit it to another publisher, thinking maybe they'll be different. And boy, this time it was. The second time we tried a publisher, they were willing to consider my works. But as they found out more about me, there was something that changed their mind. You see, I was born legally blind. I was born with a very interesting disease called Stargardt's. And upon finding this out, the second publisher thought that my disability would be a liability. They thought I wouldn't be able to do book signings and live events, all the things that would be important financially to their company. And so they backed off. It was hard to take, but life goes on. So after this second rejection, we have no money and no other options. So I collect my stuff and put it away in a folder. And it collects dust for 15 years. Meanwhile, I continue writing sporadically, and life goes on. I'm still attending my church, and I'm taking part in the services. But things are different now. I feel this urge to preach. But being legally blind, I feel as if I don't have the ability to do the job. And so doubt and fear bind me to the seat for many, many years. But one day, I can't explain to you why, I took a deep breath, put fear in its place, and I got up and decided to become a preacher. And I did. And as I grew in my preaching and grew in my reaching, I was given one of the greatest responsibilities a pastor could ever have, and that's to baptize someone. Seeing the smile on someone's face with the tears in their eyes as they rise from that water is the greatest and most awesome experience I've ever had in my life. So years go on, and I continue preaching and reaching those poems long forgotten in that drawer. But my aunt, unbeknownst to me and out of nowhere, sees a commercial for a Christian publisher who's looking for new authors. And my Aunt Patsy tells me about it. After hearing this, I thought, well, I'll gather up. I'll dust off my courage, dust off my works, and I'll try it. Those poems I had written years ago, and the ones I had continued writing sporadically throughout the years, I put them together and I submitted them. Upon receiving them, the publisher accepted my work. And once again, I was blown away. Those poems I had began as an 18-year-old teenager, all the way till I was a 35-year-old man, are what make up the first book, Poetry for Thought, A Tale of Life. That book will always be special to me because there's a lot of life in it. You see, God had a plan that I didn't understand at the time. I didn't understand why things had to be so hard. But He knew exactly what He was doing. And He directed my life. He had bigger plans for me than a book. So upon having that first book appearing on that screen on Amazon or Kindle or Books A Million, it was like a dream to me, and I couldn't believe it. Since then, I went on to write the second, and now, Lord willing, the third. You see, it was a very unusual journey to be where I am today. A little legally blind kid who didn't have any money but had a big heart reached his goal. Since then, I have went on to become a blogger and a YouTuber. I'm still preaching, still writing. And Lord willing, I pray that my voice helps someone to make the choice to put God into their life. But in the history of Poetry for Thought, we're going to look back on these first two books leading up to the new. And I'm going to share with you some very interesting behind the scenes. If you look back to my first book, Poetry for Thought, A Tale of Life, on the cover, you'll see a person walking down the road. And in the distance, you'll see a sun. The road is meant to represent the journey of life that we all take. The road of life we all walk upon. But that sun, it's up to you. When you see that sun in the distance, is it a sunrise or a sunset? Where are you in your journey in life? When we reach the second book, I chose a scene with a vast ocean. And in the midst of it is a very small boat. On Poetry for Thought 2, A Journey Within, I chose this scene because it represents us and how small we are in the vastness of this world. But it shows even in the midst of this big world, we all have to take that journey to find out where we belong in this life. And that leads us to today. Poetry for Thought 3, Looking to Thee. This is a book that is all faith-based. It's a book where all my experiences, passions, and unbelievable scenarios led me to God. I pray that it will inspire everyone that turns its pages. I pray that it will inspire the desire in you. On the cover of this book, I chose two people looking at a cross that's overshadowed by the blue sky. This is meant to represent us looking unto Thee, looking to Christ, the Savior of us all, represented by that cross, but also looking unto God, who's over us all, who's above that bright blue. This was a very impractical journey for me to be where I am. And I thank each and every one of you who've shared in a part of it. I believe this third book will change your life. So many experiences have went into this. And I pray that it changes the lives of all who turn its pages. If you've read my previous books, then you'll get this reference. Now you know more about this average Joe. And now you know the history of Poetry for Thought. Remember to subscribe to the channel, as it'll mark us as a channel you enjoy, and it's always free. Remember to like the video so it'll get out to others, because that's the only way it does. And remember to please have a happy Thanksgiving. And remember that every day is Thanksgiving. Poetry for Thought 3 is available at the end of this month, Lord willing. And we'll see you in the next video. Blessed wishes.